Hey guys, and welcome to Faith Works Designs. I am Faith, and today we're doing a really exciting project. I was a part of a tester team, and I cannot wait to show you this bag. So the pattern company is, I figured I was going to butcher it, so I just put the name there. The pattern name is actually called Belle Baguette and Crossbody Bag. So you have two really cute options. So there's this little teeny tiny one that is super cute, and I think would be really popular right now because people are kind of carrying smaller bags, but the crossbody is what really spoke to me. So I made the crossbody. In today's video I'm going to show you how to put it all together so that you know all of the ins and the outs and everything that I did. What I really like about this bag is the double security that it's going to give you for the inside of your bag. So on the outside you have this turn lock that has a flap that goes over, and once you lift that back you actually have a recessed zipper. So you have both of those things to kind of keep people out of your goods. In the front you have a little slip pocket. It's a nice big deep slip pocket. This I think is going to be my next bag because I like pockets on the outside that I can just kind of throw my phone into and then get it out whenever I need to. I think this is going to be my next one. So you've got your recessed zipper, and then when you open it up, now the inside zipper pocket, amazing construction. So if you want to learn some new techniques for construction, this is going to be it. So you have this inside zipper pocket that is kind of like in the middle there, and it's not going anywhere. It's attached to your lining. I'll show you in the video. And then you also have these two slip pockets right here. Love, love, love that design, and the way that it's put together makes it really easy. Now, the other thing that I really like is I've been looking for bags that look a little fancier because we need to charge a little bit more to be able to make our business roll. So I really like the handle that comes in the instructions. If you get thrown off by the instructions, I do take you step by step through how to make the kind of like curved edge. But you've got your strap right here, but on this side, this is what makes it look really snazzy, is you've got these grommets, and then you've got your little buckle on the side, and I just think that gives it that extra little something to make it look a little bit fancier. So I love this, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. So let's get started. Alright, because we have to edge coat the little flap thingy, I'm going to go ahead and do that first. You can use the glue that is suggested in the pattern, but again, I never carry that stuff or use that stuff on a regular basis. So I am going to double-sided tape this thing to death, and then I am going to be sewing around the edges, and hopefully that will work. So I'm going to put a bunch of double-sided tape on here, put the wrong sides together, and then I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and sew around 1/8 of an inch around the edges, just so that they're held together. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim the edges because we're going to have to edge coat this. And when you edge coat something, you want to make sure that your edges are nice and even. And I find, see how I use the same template to cut them out, but sometimes they always have a little bit peeking through. And that's why I'm going to stitch. You're going to have to stitch all the way around. Then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim all this up. And that way my edges are nice and smooth and I can do my edge coating. I have already prepped my edge coating paint. So let's go sew this up and then we will do the edge coating. Alright, so I am going to start my stitches back here on the back of my flap. You are going to need to go all the way around. It's not like a D-ring where you just start here, go all the way around, stop. You're going to want a continuous stitch line. So I'm just going to go about 1/4 of an inch a little further. I have got a 4 stitch length, and I'm going to go in just a little bit more, around 1/8 of an inch-ish, because I am cutting some of this fabric off to make sure that my edges look really nice. apparently it's time to wipe my machine down. Alright, so I am going to have a pretty side and a not so pretty side on mine. I always do. Alright, so you're going to pull your threads through, burn the ends. This is going to be my not pretty side that I'm not going to see. It's going to be part of that part that's sewn down. Alright, now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a pair of scissors and we're going to trim all of this up. I'm just barely going to cut enough off that all the way around will be nice and flat and be so much easier to edge coat because the edges will be nice and even. And when you're cutting, you kind of want to go an even cut so that you don't have like that jagged edge. Just go as far as you can before you have to stop. There you go. Alright, now that we got that done, I'm going to grab my edge coating and I'm going to start. I need to wipe my machine down. I got a lot of oil. Alright, I am going to get some of this edge coating off. Alright, so you're just going to go, I'm going to start at the top because this is how I'm going to hang it on my little line that I have over there to hang things on while they're drying. But I'm going to start at the top so that hopefully it'll dry faster than the rest of it, hopefully. Okay, so you're just going to go all the way around so that this has a nice edge coat. You're going to want to do more than one coat of this. Trust me. Am I the only one in this park that doesn't like doing all of the sanding and stuff? I hate having to sand stuff and having to deal with all of that, so I just do another coat. And that's why it's really important, if you can get your edges nice and smooth, you don't have to do all of that. I mean, you can to make it look a little bit nicer. But if you get your edges nice and smooth, yeah. So I'm going to do this real quick and then I'll hang it up and then we'll go to the next step. Alright, so we're working on our strap connectors for our gusset. First thing I did was I took and made a line down the center of my strap connector and then I added some double-sided tape. I'm going to take the paper off and we're going to make the sides meet to the center. We're going to do that to both of them. Now what you're going to do is we're going to measure 2 inches. I'm marking it on the wrong side. I'm just going to go ahead and sew on the wrong side so that I can see where it's at. And when I did my tester, 2 inches wasn't quite far enough. So I'm going to do 2 1/4, or at least for the flipping it over and all of that, 2 wasn't quite enough. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2 1/4. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the sewing machine. We're going to start sewing here, come down to our mark and stop. Make sure that you give yourself some tail of your thread so that we can pull it through. We're not going to be going down, around, and over like you would normally do. We're just going to be going down and stopping, and then come on this side and do the same thing, stopping at that mark. So let's go do that. Alright, so we have got a 4 stitch length. And we're going just 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to go till I hit my mark. And then I'm going to stop. I'm going to pull my thread out. Just like that. Now, I'm just going to turn it around. It just seemed to be easier doing it that way. And I'm going to start sewing, hanging on to your threads. Hang on to those threads. Pull it out. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull the thread through on the wrong side. So the side that you flipped your sides into, and then hopefully you can see that where they're open like that. You're going to put your thread on that side. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to cut them off and burn my ends. And then we will go do the other one and add our straps. So let me go do the other one and then we will get moving. Alright, so if you are using the buckles for your straps, or for one of them, you're going to need to pick one of these and you're going to need to make a mark at the 1.5 inch mark where you've already done your stitch line, and you need to put a hole there for it. Alright, so I had to double check what I was doing to make sure I was telling you right. Alright, so put your buckle just like this so that the buckle, the nice part of the buckle, is facing up and not down. Then you're going to grab your strip with the right side facing you, put it up, take your little buckle middle piece and put it through your little hole that you made, put it back down, and then you're just going to kind of pull it like that. I think the buckle that I have is kind of big, so I probably should have done a little bit more top stitching up there, but it's fine. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to stress about it. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to grab your other strap and we're going to fold it over 1.5 inches after we put our rectangle ring in. I've got my strap on my board with my rectangle ring. I'm going to fold it in at 1.5 inches. Right here is where I'm going to fold that over just like that, and then I'm going to clip it. Well, I'm going to clip it together. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab some more double-sided facing. We're going to grab some more double-sided tape. I'm going to put a little sliver where my clip is so this will stay still. I don't have to worry about it moving any. Okay. Double check, make sure everybody's measuring the same. Alright, now we're going to grab another thing of double-sided tape, and just over where my flap meets my other side, I'm going to put a little bit of tape so it holds it down. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just a little bit over that flapped over part. To the end. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to grab our gusset. And I'm going to have to grab my special ruler because it is 1 3/8. And it's actually a really good measurement. And right now it really does not matter which side you're doing because they can kind of turn to whatever side you want. So I am going to need 1 3/8, which is right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this up and I'm going to take my tape off, and I'm going to try and put this as centered as I can, like so. Okay. Now I'm going to grab the other end and do the same thing. I'm going to find 1 3/8. I'm going to put the edge of my strap connector right there. Okay. I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to grab that paper and take it off. I'm just going to take it off a little bit because I want to start pushing this down, making sure that that's as centered as I can get it. The good thing about double-sided tape is you can lift it up and kind of move things around if you need to, if it's not quite straight enough. Alright, the next thing that you need to do is we're going to start on this end, so all the way up until you come back up here to where we stopped our stitches. We're not going to come over. We're just going to stop just like we did with our strap when we got started. We're going to put our needle down, back up, and then pull it out and give ourselves some thread so that we can pull it back down on the other side. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start here, sew until we get to this stitch, stop, pull it out, pull our threads through. Let's go do that. Alright, so I'm going to do the rectangle side first because that's going to be the easiest one. Alright, so I've still got my stitch length at a 4. We're just sewing 1/8 of an inch in. I am going to back stitch. You could have actually just started where your stitch was, but just for me, just going to start it there and stop when I got to my stitch that was already there. I'm going to give myself some tail, and I'm going to tie these. I would normally just burn the ends, but I'm going to tie them. Alright, I want to make sure I'm not missing any stitches. And I'm just going to tie them and make sure that they're not going anywhere. Now this one, it doesn't matter because it's going to be underneath and shouldn't come undone anyway. Alright, you're going to be a little butt, aren't you? Okay, fine. Fine. Alright. Now I'm going to start up here and start right where I stopped. It's the only thing I don't like about my sewing machine is I can't see with my foot sometimes. I'm going to come down. Okay. Now, if something like this should happen, and you didn't quite start where your other stitches were, we're here. It's okay. I'm going to grab my needle that I have in my desk. Give me 1 second. I'm going to take a needle and I'm going to poke it through that last hole. Oh, just like that. Then I'm going to put my thread through and pull it to the back. And that way it looks like it was continuous. Once I tie it up, it'll be tighter. But if that ever happens, that's what you can do. Like I said, with my sewing foot, I can't quite see everything when I'm right up on it. It's like my only drawback to my sewing machine. You're going to go do the same exact thing on the other side with the buckle, which is not going to be as much fun because my buckle is huge. So there's that. It's going to be alright. It's going to be alright. Just going to take my time and figure it out. Alright, so I'm all straightened up. When you're going ahead and making your pre-stitches, I would go ahead and do 2.5. That way you give yourself a little extra to work with. If you've got the wrong size buckle or something like that, I feel like it would give you more room to start your stitches. It's up to you. You can try it out with your first one and see if you like it or not. Just give it a try. I've got all of that ready to go. Now I've got the bottom of my purse. Now you can add purse feet if you want. I made my first one with purse feet and it kind of, I don't know, it just set weird. So I'm going to skip purse feet on this one, but you do have in your pattern the placement to be able to put your purse feet. Then you're going to take a strip of 1/4 inch double-sided tape, and we're going to remove the double-sided tape and then just fold it over 1/4 of an inch. And we're going to do that on both sides. Okay, and then the next thing that you're going to do is we're going to try and find our centers. So let's go ahead and just make little notches, and that way we make sure we're putting it in the right spot. I'm just barely making a little notch on my back panel, or on my bottom panel I should say. I'm going to do that on this too. Every time I record, I don't know why, I don't turn my sound off because everybody wants to talk to me when I'm trying to make a video. Alright, now that we have got center marks on our bottom panel and center marks on our bottom panel, we're going to match up those center marks and then clip everything in place. And in the instructions, what she has you do is just sew around the entire thing so that you're sewing your bottom to your bottom and it's going to cover up the edges right here. You should have some of that strip tucked in there. So I'm going to take a 4-stitch length and I'm going to sew all the way around. So the little metal pieces that you're supposed to have so that your straps can go down through here, I normally do not carry those. I don't use them, so we're going to make our own. I put a little strip across here. I think I'm going to put 2 rivets right here just to make it look a little bit nicer. But if you want to do this so that you can have somewhere to put your strap through, this is how I did it. I've got a piece that measures 3 1/4 long by 1 inch wide. I drew a line down the center, put some double-sided tape on. We're going to fold the sides to the center. Like so. Then I'm going to grab a marking tool and on the wrong side of my vinyl, I'm going to mark 3/4 of an inch. On both ends. Now, just like we did earlier where you have to kind of like start and stop again, all that, we're going to do that again. Okay. So, we're going to start sewing with a 4-stitch length right at our line. And we're going to sew all the way down till we get to our next line. And stop. You're going to pull the threads through to the wrong side, cut them and burn them and all that jazz, but we're going to finish this first. Holding on to your thread, we're going to go down the other side, trying to start where we stopped our last one, going till we get to that line. Alright, so pull your threads through on the wrong side, trim them down, and then burn the edges. Okay, now we're going to need your ruler again. And we're going on the other side. So I put it about 1 inch down. Now you can clip this on each side so that they don't move and you know where you're going. I'm going to clip this one side. What you're going to do is you're going to sew down until you hit. So you're going to start here. You're sewing this patch to this. So you're going to start here and then stop where your stitches started before. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Hopefully you can see that. And hopefully my buckle is not going to get in the way. We'll see. Okay. See how it just looks like one continuous stitch? That's what you want. Okay, let me do the other side. Alright, threads, you're getting a little ridiculous. So I'm going to go on the back and I'm going to pull them through, and I'm not going to just burn them. I'm actually going to make a knot and tie them, because that's probably going to get pulled on a little bit and you don't want those coming undone. So I'm going to make a knot on the ones that are touching the center, just those. The ones on the edge, I'm just going to cut and burn. Those aren't a big deal. They'll get caught up when I go to sew the gusset to the back and front panel. Alright, So that's what it looks like on one side. Now I've got to go do this side. Alright, I like it, so I'm going to show you. So what I did was I kind of pushed the fabric to one side, made a spot. It's going to have to be 3/8 or more in on this side before you put your rivet. So it needs to be kind of close, but not right next to it. And then on the other side, I pushed the fabric over, made my hole, and then that's what you do. So I'm going to take my fabric, push it all the way over. I'm going to get closer to the strap because that 3/8 seam allowance is going to be tough. You just need to make sure that you push the strap over so that you're not losing that center, the extra fabric in the center here. And then push it over and then go smash those down, and that's how I did that. I've got my slip pocket pieces right side to right side. Because I normally use 1/4 inch seam allowance, 3/8 does not come naturally to me. So I went ahead and marked myself an opening, a nice opening to turn this through, and then I marked a couple places for 3/8. I'm going to actually put my little magnet here on my sewing machine so it'll keep it in place, but just to get started and over, I just went ahead and marked it. I've just been a quilter for years, and 3/8 does not come natural. I've got my stitch length at a 2.5. 3/8 is foreign to me. Alright, now that we've got that all sewn up, there's a couple things we need to do. One, I'm going to get my pinking shears, and I'm just going to kind of go across the top because that is a curve and it's not going to lay right if you don't do pinking shears or some kind of notches or something, so that when it turns it lays flat. I think that was it. I think that was it. Alright, let's turn this inside out. Alright, now we're going to sew with a 4 stitch length just right across the top, just to kind of make that lay flat. I am going to pull my threads through one side, and then I'm going to go grab one of my lining panels and we'll attach this to it. So give me one sec. So I went and got one of my lining pieces and then the piece we just worked on, and I've just kind of folded it in half and finger pressed it, and then I'm going to fold this in half and finger press it so that I know where the center is. And then I can just kind of lay this down center to center. Oh, look at that, matchy matchy. Oh, I'm going to do it anyway. I don't think it's... Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Alright, I still have my 4 stitch length. So what you're going to do is just going to start sewing. Make sure that you back stitch. Okay, now I'm going to fold it in half again so that I have my center, because it's going to be hard to see with all of these lines. And I'm halfway going blind anyway. So, alright, right down the center, I'm going to start a little bit above my pocket, holding on to my thread when I start sewing. Coming down and making sure I back stitch. Now, I'm going to go grab all of my threads, pull them through to the back, burn the ends. Oh, it's off just slightly. Dang it! So when I sewed it, it just kind of shifted a little bit. But still, pretty good. I won't complain. Alright, so now we're going to be working on our zipper compartment that is in the center of our bag. And you need to cut out your template for your zipper hole. We're going to do that not on the right side of our fabric, but on the wrong side of our fabric. I'm going to just lay it down, and I am going to put a weight on it. We're just going to mark out that rectangle. And you need to do this on both of yours. On both of your zipper lining, both on the wrong side of your fabric on your interfacing. In your instructions, she needs you to get a piece that is 3 wide by 11 in length. And you're going to need to center that. Let's center it on my board. You're going to need to center that, so I am looking at where my rectangle is, and I'm going to center it up with my black fabric underneath. That's going to be your facing, and you really, really want that. She does it in a really nice way so that your zipper is nice and covered up on the inside. I am just going to clip that together like so. I'm going to take that to the sewing machine and then just sew all the way around. With this one though, I'm going to take some double-sided tape. I'm going to put it not right next to my line, but close to my line, like so. Okay, what you're going to do with this piece is you can make a line going right down the center if you want. It's up to you. I am just going to fold this in half, willy-nilly it. I was looking for my sharp scissors. There they are, hiding. So I'm going to cut down that center till about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch to the edge. And then I've got my sharp scissors, and I'm going to make that little triangle that you normally make when you're making a zipper, where you're installing a zipper, like that. Then I'm going to pull the paper off, and I'm going to fold each side onto that double-sided tape. I'm going to put 2 little pieces on the sides like that, just to catch that little triangle and to keep it out of the way and folded back. Alright, so we're going to set this aside. Let's go to the sewing machine and sew our other piece. So I have got my stitch length to a 2.5. I've got my under piece nice and centered. I'm going to stitch right outside of the line that I made, like right slightly outside of it. Hopefully you can see that, like just right outside of it. Alright, now that we've got that all sewn up, I'm going to fold this in half, and I'm just going to cut down the center. You could make a line if you wanted to. If you can't cut straight, it's probably a good idea. I'm just going to cut all the way down again until I get to about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch from the edge, and stop. Now, I'm going to cut at an angle, and I am not going to cut my stitches. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back and sew them again. I'm just going to cut as close as I can so this will fold nicely when I turn it inside out. I hope I didn't get that. Okay, I didn't. Whew. So close. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these off, and then I'm going to grab my 1/4 inch double-sided tape. I am going to put it, you can hear my littles outside. playing. It is finally cool enough that they can go outside and play, and they need it. I'm going to put it on each side because I'm using waterproof canvas as my zipper tab thing. It'll hopefully stay nice. If you're using cotton on both sides, you can always take it to the ironing board and go ahead and iron it flat. It's up to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this paper, and then I'm going to fold this over. Should have used a 1/2 inch double-sided tape. It's alright, it's alright. Alright, and then remove that paper. And fold it over. Like so. And I could still take it to the ironing board if I wanted to, and I might just. But you're going to want to make it lay down really well so that putting your zipper on is a whole lot easier, and that way it'll lay straight like it's supposed to, and it'll look really, really nice. Because when you look into your bag, this is going to be one of the first things that you see is the zipper that goes right here, because when you get it, it goes like that, and then you see your zipper as soon as you're looking down into your purse. So you really want this to lay nice and flat. I think I am going to take it to the ironing board, and that way I just make sure that it's straight. Alright, let me go do that, and then we will grab a zipper and we will put it in and keep rolling. Alright, so I went ahead, ironed that all flat, got it down. Next thing I did was grab my zipper. I went ahead and put 1/4 inch on each side. I'm going to take, I also burn the ends of my zipper. If you haven't done that, make sure that you do that, because you don't want it unraveling on you. Now right now it doesn't matter which direction the zipper goes, but if you have a directional print, you want to make sure that your zipper opens from left to right, or from right and then closes to the left. Thank you, brain. Alright, push it down, come over here, take the paper off, push it down. Alright, looks nice, right? Hopefully you saw some of that. Hopefully. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to flip this over. I'm going to grab my 1/4 inch tape again. Okay. And we're going to put it on both sides of the underside of our zipper. This is going to help our other piece stay right side to right side. Okay, so we're going to take this paper off. Stay down, please. Alright. Now we're going to grab that other panel that we pressed our seam in, and we're going to try really hard to center this on both the zipper and making sure that we're matching up with the rest of our panels, because you want the outside and the inside zipper panel meeting together. So my edges right here need to match up as well as up here. Again, is the great thing about double-sided tape. You can kind of move things around if you need to, making sure those triangles are nice and tucked in. I am going to push this down just a little bit. Okay. Well, once you think that you've got that nice and centered and that will work, that's as good as it's going to get. You want to check and make sure that at least all of your edges, for the most part, are matching up. Now we're going to take it back to the sewing machine, and I have got a 2.5 stitch length. I'm going to hold on to my thread, and normally I would sew a little bit closer, but I'm going to sew out just a little bit. You can check with your fingers and just make sure everything is lining up. Like I have one hand underneath and I can feel the edge of the fabric underneath. I'm just going to sew out just a smidge to make sure that I get both fabrics, not just the one that's on top, because you need to get both of those. Okay, let's pull the thread through as a helicopter goes by, because everybody knows I'm trying to record today, even the coasties. Oh, it's just going to be one of those days, I can already tell. We have a huge Coast Guard base here, and very rarely do we hear the helicopters going by, but that's today because Faith's trying to record. Okay. Alright, now I am going to pull my threads through, burn the ends, and then I want to suggest one thing to you guys. After doing my first one, before you go any further, take your scissors and trim back both your zipper and your little, your zipper thing right here. You want to trim both of those back, because it's already going to be kind of thick on the sides when we go to sew up the sides and put them into the lining of the bag. So go ahead and just trim those down. Why won't you go? And then after I trim this down, even if it's just a 1/4 of an inch, just trim it down so that it's out of the way. I found that that was a problem. Go ahead and re-burn your ends. Okay, we'll do the same thing on the other side. Trust me, that is going to help you out later on when we do the next couple of steps. So, in the instructions, you were going to have some Decoville light that you could just fold your corners over to be able to know where to fold your corners. I did not do that because I forgot, so it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. I'm going to again grab my 1/4 of an inch seam tape, double-sided tape. I can talk today, I really can. Alright, I'm going to put them on both corners. And in the instructions, she has you go all the way around and tuck in a 1/4 of an inch. I believe it's a 1/4 of an inch. I will double check in a minute. She has you go all the way around. And doing that on this side makes it incredibly thick when you go to put it between your lining panels. So with this one, we are not going to do these long sides. I'm just going to do the bottom up to the side so that this raw edge will go in between our lining and not have, you know, umpteen layers to have to sew through. Because this is going to be 4 layers by itself. If I were to fold this in and then fold this in, that's 4 layers plus 2 layers of your lining. And that's going to be really, really thick and really, really hard for a domestic to be able to handle. So I'm going to do it just a little bit differently. I'm going to take my double-sided tape off and then just fold it a 1/4 of an inch. Just like that. And I'm just doing one side, one panel at a time. Alright, and then I'm going to come up here and take this paper off. If you want to follow the original directions, go for it. I was just trying to think of a way to help you guys out with domestics, because that is thick. That's a lot of materials to have to go through. Alright, so that's done like that. Now, we need to match up our corners. There's a reason why I didn't tape this side, because it really needs to match up well. And I figured what I did just do is kind of clip it all together and then fold it over like this. If you go ahead and you put double-sided tape on and for some reason it just does not match up, it's hard to get that double-sided tape off to be able to make it match up. I really should be using other clips. And that way I know that this side matches up really, really well. Because I think this was the hardest part, just kind of making sure that everything, my 1/4 of an inch was a 1/4 of an inch. Alright, now I'm going to go down the other end and do the same thing. But you see how it's nice and matched up for the most part. I see one little spot. But you're going to want to do that on both sides, because after that's done, you're going to fold it together like this, and then we're going to base stitch around those 3 sides. So let me do this side real quick. Alright, now that you've got it like this, what you're going to do is you're going to bring these edges together. So I'm going to start with my corners, and I'm going to bring them together. I'm going to take both clips off and just clip it with one clip. And then just kind of match it all the way across. I like to start with my corners. Just if you get the corners right, the rest should be right. But you're matching up both sides. Almost so that they're going to become one piece, and you kind of have to have a straight edge. I'm going to have to shift some things around for a second, but for the most part everything's straight. Now we're going to base stitch around. Oh, so much better. Oh my gosh, with 4 layers it was so thick to sew around. So we're going to sew around 3 sides. So we're going to start here all the way around. I'm going to use a 4 stitch length. Plus it was kind of hard to line everything up on all 4 sides. So that's why I like just doing the bottom half. Made it so much easier. Alright, now we have got the center zipper pocket done, and I really like how she did the bottom edges so that the inside of your zipper pouch doesn't have any seams. This was the easiest way for my brain to figure out how to do this. I laid out my pieces like she has in the directions so that I can remember which end goes to what. First thing you need to do is grab your zipper, making sure that you have burnt both ends. And then there's a trick out there of sewing it, but my machine wants to eat basically anything. So you fold it in half like that, and then you melt it. We're going to fold it in half just like that, and then bring this side right here up just like that. And then I'm going to hold it with my hands, and I'm going to very carefully melt the side of my zipper and then smush it just like that, so that your zipper looks like that. Alright, next thing is next. I'm going to grab this side. We've put some 1/4 of an inch double-sided tape on there. I made it a little long. Fold that over like that. I'm going to do that to all 4 pieces, my outer pieces and my lining pieces. Going to take so you have a little bit of a rounded edge, and then on the other side you have a straight edge. The straight edge is the part that's going to go along our zipper. So I'm going to take this to my zipper, and with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, well, we're going to have a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, but with about a 1/4 of an inch from this edge right here, you're going to put your zipper. We're going to clip that in place, making sure that your outer fabric is the right side of your zipper. Now we're going to take this one, put it right side to the wrong side of your zipper, matching up with the 1/4 of an inch in the front. Okay, so both of your pieces, your outer should have that rounded edge on this side, and your lining should have the rounded edge on this side. We're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to sew 1/4 of an inch this way and then 1/4 of an inch all the way down. You don't want to go too far past your edge right here, or your stitches will show in your zipper tape. So just right at the end there. So let's go do that. Alright, so we're going to start making sure that you backstitch. Maybe one more. Alright, so I'm going to trim this corner, and then we're going to turn this right side out. I'm going to pull that zipper out, and if you want, you can clip all the way down, but we're going to base stitch along the sides and then top stitch down the zipper, and that way everything's in place. So I'm going to change my stitch length back to a 4. Alright, now I'm going to grab our other 2 pieces, making sure that we're getting our straight side along our zipper. And I'm going to have that 1/4 of an inch sticking up. I always do my outside fabric first. It's just easier to get everything lined up once that's on there. Now I can add my lining to my little zipper sandwich. Okay, now I'm going to put my stitches back to 2.5, my stitch length. You can pull this zipper away so that it's not in the way. Back stitching is going to be really important there so that you can pull this inside out. Alright, we're going to trim that corner, turn it right side out, and make sure that I get all of my zipper out. Then again, you can clip or you can just sew. I think if you want to make sure that it looks nice, you might want to clip it and just make sure that everything's where it's supposed to be. I am going to put my stitch length back to a 4. Alright, so we've got our zipper gusset done, and I went ahead and I folded it in half and I made center marks on both sides. We're going to grab our little pieces like this. We're going to have 2 of them. Let's see, let me remember real quick. Okay, so the roundy bits, if you're looking at it like this, this roundy bit is your bottom. This caving in is your top. You need to go to your sewing desk and you need to measure in 1 inch and 1/2 inch all the way across. That's going to come in later when you go to do your drop-in lining. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put right sides together with this roundy bit going out. We're going to clip all of this together. Okay, and then we're going to base stitch that in place. I am just going to do 1/8 of an inch. I think it says a 1/4 of an inch here. I'm just going to do 1/8 of an inch to make sure I'm right. And you're just base stitching where your zipper is, where your zipper gusset is. So you're not going any further than that. Alright, next thing that we need to do, we're going to grab our lining, fold it in half. We're going to need to make a center notch. Okay, now the tricky bits. Alright, so lining the wrong side of your zipper to the right side of your lining. We're going to get those center marks together, and the instruction sheet has you clipping them together and sewing them together until you have this little situation right here, because it's harder to do all at one time, but I did it in my first one. It's just a matter of taking your time and doing it right. So I would definitely clip a lot. You can go along the slanted side and stop and fix the corners if you want. I'm going to go ahead and just do them all in one sitting. This is with a 3/8 seam allowance. I'm going to change my stitch length back to a 3, I think. Yeah, that sounds about good. That sounds about right. Alright, I'm just going to put those together, and I'm going to guess 3/8 right this second from what I remember. Alright, huzzah, I did it. Okay. Ah, it takes a minute. Alright, now I'm going to make a clip right here and here, so that when I put this down to top stitch it, it will lay nice and flat on both sides. Alright, put your stitch length to a 4 again. We're going to take, so this is what you just stitched. We're going to take all of this, the zipper gusset and everything, to the right, and then we're just going to follow this along. That's one side done. Alright, you're going to go grab your other lining piece. Alright, now that we've got this lining taken care of, we're going to grab our other piece, and the rounded out part is the part that's going towards our zipper. So right side to right side, making sure the part that goes out is what's touching your zipper. We're going to base stitch that in place just like we did a minute ago on the other side. And I've already got a 4 stitch length going because of top stitching. I believe in the directions it is 1/4 inch to top to base stitch it in. It really doesn't matter. It's not like you're going to see it anyway. Alright, now we're going to grab our other lining piece of fabric. We're going to fold it in half, make a notch. Next thing that we're going to do is right side of our lining here with our zipper to the right side of our lining. And I'm going to turn it around because it'll be a little bit easier to see what I'm doing. So you're just going to clip all the way across just like we did before. And again, you can just go down to where it starts to right about here and sew and stop. And then do the corners if you want. I'm going to go ahead and do the whole thing in one sitting because I am a glutton for punishment. I am going to put my stitch length back to a 3. And then I'm just going to kind of make this thing do what I want it to do. Alright, now we're going to top stitch just like we did the other side. After I cut right here. So it'll lay nice and flat, hopefully. Alright, so lay this out. I'm also going to make sure that this vinyl underneath is not getting sewn. I'm going to try anyway. Alright, so if you've done it right, your gusset should look like this. I haven't put my zipper on and I'm not going to yet. What you're going to need next is your lining panel. On your lining template, you're going to have these little darts that you're going to need to sew into the bottom of your lining. And what I did was I took my hands and I just kind of, where the lines were, I just did the best that I could to kind of fold them. And so I have all of these folds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this down, and then I'm going to fold this over at the fold and make my first mark. Then I'm going to put it back, go to my very next fold, fold it over, hold it down, and connect those two. So that's my first dart. Then I'm going to go to my next line and mark that. Put my paper back down, do my next fold. Is a little more difficult. So you're going to want to do that on both sides. Alright, you're going to need to do this on both sides of your lining. So I have got both sides marked with all of my darts. Then you're going to need to take this and fold it in half and look on both sides and try and match up those lines. You can put a pin if you have one, especially if you're using cotton as a lining. You can kind of match them up so that you can make sure that your dots are right. You don't have to do this. This is kind of overkill, but if you wanted to do that, you can. What you're going to do is you're going to start sewing here. Make sure that you backstitch. Come all the way down. I'm going to go ahead and backstitch, and then you're going to do that to all of your darts. Do not cut this excess fabric right here. Leave it alone. She wants you to keep it in there for the rest of the thing, and it really doesn't bother anything when we're going to finish putting the lining together. So just leave that alone. Let's go to the sewing machine and sew these darts. Alright, so I have got my stitch length at 2.5. I'm just going to start, back stitch, and then you're just going to come, make sure your fabric's nice and straight, and then just come all the way down, and I'm going to back stitch because I don't want that coming undone. Even though we're not cutting that material off, it still would feel better about leaving it, back stitching it, make sure it's not coming loose. Alright, so I'm just kind of looking from one side to the other and seeing if they're together. Again, you can use a pin just to make sure. Let's see how good I did. Yes, right on my line. Alright, cool. So I'm going to do the rest of these darts, and then we will get to add our little pocket. So let me finish this. Alright, so we've got all of our darts sewed in on both of our lining pieces. We're going to be putting our zipper on, but I'm not going to do it just yet. Your zipper is going to go on this direction. So it's really, really important that your zippers are both opening and closing in the same direction. So my zipper is going to be opening in this direction, that zipper is going to be opening in that direction, and closing to the left, just like that one. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab a ruler from the dart on this side. You're going to measure 3/4 of an inch. That is where the end of your zipper pouch is going to sit. And you're just going to clip that in place on that side. And then we're going to measure on this side from this dart right there. Words come to me. Clip it in place. This is going to be so much easier to sew, I can already tell. Okay. Before you had like a lot of that bulk right here, and I know she was trying to make it so that it wasn't raw edges, but it won't be raw edges when you put it into the lining. So what you can do is you can go to your sewing machine and at 1/4 of an inch, go ahead and base stitch this on this side, and then we're going to come back and we're going to sew all the way. Yeah. Let me go sew this in, and then I'll show you how we close up our lining. Alright, so I've base stitched my zipper pocket in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put right side to right side. I'm going to tuck the zipper tail in. You're going to sew 3/8 all the way around, except for, you know, leaving the top open. You're going to sew 3/8 all the way around. Try making sure that your darts are matching up at the bottom. When you go to do this, you want to make one dart go to one direction and one dart go the other direction, kind of like a butterfly seam. That way you're not catching so many layers. It's hard with those two darts being right next to each other, but that's what it is. So just clip all the way around, and then we'll go back to the sewing machine and finish up our lining. As yet another helicopter goes by. Oh my gosh, what is up with today? Alright, we're going to sew 3/8 all the way around where we've clipped. It is going to become a little harder with the zipper pocket because it's a tight fit. It's wanting to make it kind of squishy. So you're just going to have to kind of work one side at a time. I am going to back stitch a little bit when I start and stop sewing over that zipper pouch, because it's going to probably be pulled on a lot. I just want to make sure it's not going anywhere. Make sure that when you're sewing around the edges, some of this doesn't get kind of caught up in the process. I accidentally sewed some of my under fabric, was kind of going underneath of it like that, and I caught some of it. So just make sure, like, push everything out of the way when you're trying to sew. Alright, now on the 1-inch line, we're going to grab some 1/4 inch double-sided tape, and I am just going to put it right before my 1-inch line. We're not going to do anything with this right this second, but this is going to help us later on when we go to do the drop in. So you're going to want to do it just like that. I could have got a little closer here, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to do that on both sides. And then we will go to the next step. Alright guys, so we are going to work on our strap ends. Now, I looked at these directions and I was a little confused for like a hot minute, but I'm glad I persevered and tried to figure it out, and I'm going to show you guys how to do it. I really like these ends, so they're not just like your boring square ends. I like that they kind of have that point to them. So let's get started. The first thing that you're going to need to do is get your strap, have it all cut out. This is just like a sample size for you guys, so I can show you both ends. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take your 2 inches and make a mark in the center at 1 inch. Pull it down, make a mark at 1/2 inch, and then make a mark at 1.5 inches. So you're going to have 4 1/2-inch lines going across your strap. You're going to want to do this to both your outer fabric and your lining fabric. On one side you see I did vinyl, and on the other side I did like a cotton. That's what you're going to want to do. Or, because of the ends being kind of, I don't know, you could have a raw edge here and there. You might want to do this in both vinyls. I did it with the cotton on one side because I thought it looked really pretty. And I don't know that we're going to have raveling issues, but whatever, it's fine. It's fine. Give it a try, see if you like it or not. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do, and I would do both of your sides to your strap together, because you might forget what you did, and then your straps might not match up on both sides. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to measure in on this bottom line 1 inch, and I'm going to make just a little mark, and then I'm going to measure again at 1/2 inch. So let's do it on this one. 1 inch. We're going to do one side at a time, and we're actually not going to do all the measurements on this side. We're going to cheat and copy and copy this. Alright, so once that's done, you need to come up here to the very top one and make a 1/2 inch mark. Okay, now once we have those, next thing that we're going to do is at our 1/2 inch mark, our inch mark, we're going to draw a line, and go ahead and draw it all the way down. So at my 1/2 inch, we're not doing a line on the very top line, we're just doing it from that 1/2 inch mark all the way down. So nothing is in this first 1/2 inch line. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take that mark that we just made, if you bring it all the way down, and you're going to square this up so that we have a line going all the way to the top, like that. My pen ran out of ink, so I'm having to use a pencil today. Hopefully you can see it. Alright, now here's when it gets a little tricky. Alright, so from my top line here, stay with me guys, you can do this. From my top line here, we're going to come back down to this 1/2 inch mark here. So we're going to have kind of like a diagonally right there. Stay with me, you can do it. Alright, so yours should look like this. Stay with me. Alright, now we're going to take our ruler from this 1/2 inch right here. We're going to take it to the edge of our second line, like that, so that you have a parallelogram going on there. Okay, and I did that a little out of order, but it's fine. As long as you have it, that's what matters. That's what matters. Alright, next thing, let's see, let me catch up with where I'm at. Alright, last mark. We're going to find the very center and that first 1/2 inch mark that we made. You're almost done, guys, I promise. Right there. So, right where this mark is, and then right where that 1/2 inch mark is, like that. I know it looks like a hot mess, but if you get the instructions and you follow along, we're there. Okay, I'm just double checking myself. Alright, now we're going to grab a pair of scissors, and it'll all make a little bit more sense when I cut it out. Alright, so we're going to start at the bottom, clipping up to that 1 inch mark that we made. We're going to come over across that 1/2 inch. That 1/2 inch line. So we're going to remove that. We're going to come up to the next line, go over to the next line, and then catty-cornered like that. That's how it should look. So I'm going to do it again. From the bottom line, we're going to go up 1/2 inch to that next line. We're going to go to the right and cut out that little square. We're going to go up another 1/2 inch and stop. You can pivot it around. We're going to cut up the next 1/2 inch, and then we're going to go over like that. That's how it should look. Now, to cheat and save ourselves some time, what I did was I took one end of my strap and I folded it over onto the other side and just copied it. You can do that, or because what I found is that when I did that, they ended up, let me see if I can show you, they ended up having the same diagonal on the same side. So if that's fine with me, and I really don't care, but if you want them to be going the opposite direction, you're going to want to like take this in this direction like that. And that way there'll be two different sides, I believe. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to trace the outline. You don't need all of those other marks. As long as you have all of these marks, you don't need all the other marks. What you're going to do is cut that out again and just in reverse. I'm going to do that to both of your outer and your kind of like second outer. It's going to be a really long video, and I'm really sorry guys, but I wanted to show you this because I thought it was really neat, and it kind of adds a little pizzazz to your strap instead of it just being the plain same old technique for the ends of your straps. Alright, now what you're going to need is some double-sided tape. I am going to take my tape and start it close to where that little flap is. So I have a little extra tape right here, and I'm going to make sure I have the same thing at this end. Alright, I'll do the same thing to the other side in a second. So we're going to peel this off. You're going to want to start in the middle. You're going to want to do your sides last. So I didn't push all the way down here just yet. I'm just pushing down the center. Alright, so what you're going to want to do, let me see if I can remember this correctly. So you see this diagonal line right here? You're going to want to fold down at that diagonal line and push it down. And then meet those sides so it'll look like this. Okay? And then I didn't have my diagonal line here, so I'm just going to have to imagine. That's the only bad thing about copying it for the other end. You don't have all the lines to kind of follow. So it should look like this. And you see how the diagonals are on the same side? That's what you get when you mirror copy it. Like when you fold it over and just kind of mirror copied it. If I had flipped it over, the two diagonals would be on the opposite sides. Alright, let's do this one. Now, you're going to want to match these up. And you can do double-sided tape. I just kind of clipped my sides together. And then you're just going to want to sew all the way around this. And then you have your strap with the really pretty ends instead of having to have like rectangle ends. And you've got a double-sided strap. So it's not just one color or one vinyl, but you have two different sides. And I just thought it looked really nice. So hopefully that helped you understand the directions. If not, she has step-by-step pictures in the directions. Hopefully they'll make sense. It's been a couple of days and I had to wait on supplies to come in. So we're going to finish this off by adding our grommets. So first thing we're going to do is I am going to lay it on my desk so that I can kind of make all of my measurements. The first one we're going to be measuring in, so this point right here, we're going to measure, that's 1 inch, 2 inches. So I'm going to place a mark there. The next one is 3.5. So there's 3.5. The next one is 5. So now I've lost my place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 6.5. And that's where our little marks are going to be. Now I have a hole cutter that I bought from CamSnap. That was one of the things I was waiting on. I had to get 10mm because they didn't have what I needed in 7. So I think 10mm is going to be fine. It might be a little big, we'll see. I think it's a little big, but it'll be fine. We're going to make it work. We're going to make it work. Alright, so I'm going to make holes in all of my little marks. So my hole cutter looks like this, and it's got this little spring there, and I was putting the spring right on top of my mark so that I know that I'd be right in the center where I need to be. Now that I've got all of my holes marked, next thing that I need to do, and what you could do, is you could use some fray check on these edges if you're worried about it. I am not worried about it. We're going to grab our grommets and our back pieces. Again, I got these at Cam Snap. I ordered some at Amazon, and Amazon was like, well, we lost your package, so I went to Cam Snap and they got my stuff in really, really quickly. So I have also got the grommet accessory from Cam Snap that I bought a long time ago, and I'm hoping this is going to work because these are 10 millimeter, where the ones that I have are 12 millimeter. We're going to hope. So I'm going to put this on the bottom, the one with the little stem, and then I'm going to grab this little piece right here, and that's going to go. You're going to want to do the same thing on both sides. So the cap assembly, you're going to want to have those on the bottom, and then these on the top. Don't like reverse them because it'll look weird. So here's crossing my fingers. This works. Not great, but I think I should have smushed it down a little bit more, and I think it would have been happy. So I'm going to go play with this off camera, and then we'll come back and we'll finish the rest of these holes up. Alright, so it is our snap latch thing time. Alright, so I've got my little latch. Went ahead and took off the back piece that's going to go on the other side of the purse. You want to go ahead and take these screws out, and then I have laid my flat panel B down on top of my flap that's already been edge coated. I'm going to take this little piece and I'm going to put it underneath of my fabric here, underneath of my pattern piece, and I'm going to try and get it as centered into that as I can. And then I'm going to take a marking tool, and I don't have one of the little cutters that just cuts this out, so I'm going to have to kind of do it by hand. So I'm just going to mark it like that. I do have this one that'll cut this out. And then by hand, I'm going to go with scissors and cut out my center hole. Now we're going to take our top piece and slide this on. I find that I have to take my stiletto and kind of pull that fabric around that center part and then work on my little side pieces. I'm going to put just a little bit of super glue in the holes where the screws are going to go. I'm going to grab my back plate and I'm going to center it right where it's supposed to go. Then I'm going to start grabbing my screws and putting them in. Alright, that's on. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go back and work on our front panel, but that turn lock cover is on and ready to go. We're going to be working on our exterior slip pocket. The first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to find where our legs of our turn lock go on your washer. You're going to take your pattern piece and you're going to make the circle in the middle, then take your washer and figure out what holes you need to mark. Put this down centered and then mark your holes where the legs on your turn lock are going to go. We're going to open those up with our seam ripper. We're only going to open them up. We are not adding our turn lock just yet. all we're going to do is open up those holes. Next thing you're going to do, you're going to grab your slip pocket lining. I chose to do both of them with the same fabric. What you're going to do is you're going to sew across here with a 3/8 seam allowance. So let's go do that. Alright, so I've just sewn across there with 3/8. I'm going to take my pinking shears and I am going to cut my seam allowance back so that this will lay nice and flat. It's got that curved edge. It's not going to want to lay flat unless you do something to alleviate that seam allowance. You could make snips in it if you wanted to, if you don't have pinking shears. Just you need to do something so that it'll lay flat. So now we're going to turn this over. And you want to get that fabric out. Use your fingers to kind of roll that seam out. Okay. Now we're going to go to the sewing machine and I am going to top stitch about 1/8 of an inch. I think that's what I'm going to do. And that way I make sure that this is completely out of my way when I go to put my snap on. There's my little openings. So I'm going to go top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch. Alright, I have got my stitch length to a 4. And I'm just going to go 1/8 from the. Alright, so we have this all top stitched. I went and grabbed my front exterior front panel. I also grabbed my turn lock. We're going to go ahead and install that. So the outside of my turn lock will go on the outside of the lining, or outside of the fabric, just like that. And then I'm going to turn it over and put my washer on. And it really doesn't matter what hole it goes into as long as it goes. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to take my front slip pocket and base stitch it to my outside panel so that it creates my slip pocket. I'm going to be using a 4 stitch length and going around 1/8 of an inch. Alright, now we're on our back panel. You need to get, yes, all I have is painter's tape. You need to get your back panel, and if you haven't already, go ahead and cut out the little hole so that you'll know where your connector needs to go. I have grabbed my strap panel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place some double-sided tape on the very bottom so that it will stay where I want it to stay when I put it there. So I'm going to line this up. And I put mine about 1/2 inch down. They may have changed it into the pattern since the testing. However, I'm going to go ahead with my other one. I put it 1/2 inch lower, and the strap wasn't, in some of the pictures it looked like the strap was up like really high. I want mine to fit nice and snug. So you can follow the pattern, you can follow me, it's up to you. So I'm going to stick my strap underneath there, and I'm going to have the edge like right there, and I'm going to make sure with my fingers that everything is centered. I'm going to remove my paper and very carefully try and keep this straight. Hopefully that will help. Alright, battery died. Sorry about that. Alright, so I've got my tape in place so that my flap is staying nice and straight. Next thing that I'm going to do is the bottom kind of has a curve. I'm going to follow that. So I'm going to go like 1/8 of an inch beside that curve, come over, and then back again. Alright, so I've got our bottom gusset, I've got our back panel and our front panel. I'm going to go ahead and do the front panel, I think. Put your back panel right sides, or your bottom panel to right sides to your right sides of your outside panel. Start clipping all the way around. You'll start sewing 3/8 until you get all the way around. And side note, in the directions she said the bottom gusset is going to be a little small and tight, and you're going to think it's not going to work, but it will. I think this is why she didn't have you interface this piece so that your vinyl can stretch a little bit, because it's going to have to, you see how short it looks right now? So you're going to have to make some clips in it. And I've been doing this a lot with my patterns too. It really does make your corners lay flatter when you're adding your gusset on. So making those clips really does help make it look a lot nicer. And I'm going to have to adjust this a little bit when I get to the sewing machine, because I can see right now it's wanting to move. But as I start sewing, my sewing foot will help push this fabric down to that corner. So finish clipping up and then we will go to the sewing machine. Alright, if you haven't already, go make your 1-inch mark along the top edge here so that you can turn this later on. I forgot to mention that to you guys. So I went back and I did the back panel too. So now we're going to sew 3/8 of an inch. For some reason I still have a 4-stitch length. Let's change that to a 3. And I've got my little thing here to help you make sure that I'm doing it right. The right seam allowance. Perfect. Alright, I've got my back panel on. I've got my stitch length at a 3. I went ahead and marked the inch mark around the top. So if you haven't done that, make sure you do that. It'll be a whole lot easier to do before you sew it on. Alright, so we've got everything sewn up. The next thing, if you haven't done it yet, is you're going to need to grab some double-sided tape. I put it right along the inch mark that I made all the way around. You put your double-sided tape right on top of that. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to turn this inside out. Now we've got it inside, right side out. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove this tape and start clipping our top down so that we can go ahead and do our drop-in lining. I'm going to put a couple of clips just to make sure this is staying in place. Alright, now I have to do the same thing to the lining panel. Alright, now we've got everything all clipped up. The next thing that we're going to need to do is drop this in. I was trying to be really conscious of which direction everything was going in. So my zippers are zipping open from the right, closed to the left. I want to do that in the purse as well. So I'm going to make it so that my zipper, when I'm looking at the front of the bag, my zipper is opening to the right, closing to the left. And then I'm just going to match this all the way around, and then we'll go back to the sewing machine. Alright, so I have got my stitch length at a 4, and I'm going to go very slowly, or as slow as I can make myself go, because drop-in linings have a tendency to, like, one side is going to slip out over the other. So I'm just going to make sure that my edges are together when I go to do them. If you take your time, it'll turn out right. It's just a matter of relaxing and taking your time. Alright, so we got our top stitching all done. We've got to do our strap. Now you have two ends. I had to go outside and finish this because my husband is asleep and I didn't want to wake him up. So that you're going to have to Google, or I'll do a small video here of how I did it. But you've got this end and then you've got this end. You're going to need your strap connector. You're going to put it in through one side and put it down the other side. I really personally myself like 2 rivets. When I'm going to do anything for a strap, I like 2 just in case one accidentally pops out. It makes me feel like the bag is more secure. I've got my rivets. I'm going to set those in. And if I sound stuffy, it's because I went outside and I loved all over our strays. We have a little mama. She comes to visit us and I love her to death, but she's just all out into the flowers and getting pollen all over. And I can't breathe. Alright, so we're going to set those rivets. Alright, now you're going to need the bag for this next bit. So with your strap connector facing you, the looped side facing you, go all the way down and you're going to go to your rectangle ring that's on one side. We're going to put it through like that. Then we're going to go back through our strap adjuster, just like that. Then we're going to take this end with our buckle. We're going to put our strap in, and you can put this wherever you want. So I've got that in there. I'm going to put it back down my buckle, and then if you wanted to, you could put it into the side things that we made. This is really close, but there you go, just like that. Alright, perfecto. Now we've got to put our zipper on. So I've got my zipper here. I'm going to put our left side on first, then our right side. The zipper is on, and then we're going to do, I think I'm going to do a piece on the end. Let me go grab my other fabric for that. But your bag is pretty well done, and I really like the way it looks. Looks very fancy. Alright, let me go get the fabric, we'll finish that, and then we'll be done. Alright, so this purse has a lot of hardware. Or at least, trying to get everything together, it felt like I had a lot of hardware. So, I want to cut some corners in one place, and that place is going to be the zipper tab at the end. And what I did was, I grabbed a piece that is 2 inches wide by 3 inches long. If you've done, it's one of the lavender and twine patterns, but I can't remember which one. So put a 1/4 inch double-sided tape on one side, 1/4 inch on the other side, and then make a mark in the center. Put a piece of 1/4 inch double-sided tape in the middle, remove the paper. Actually, we're going to remove from the top, push that down. Now, remove your paper, come over here, grab your zipper end, and we're going to put our zipper right where that mark is. I'm going to remove the top paper. This top line right here is going to match up with this line right here, or it should. So it should look like that. When you get done, the other side is going to look like that. Now we're going to grab more double-sided tape. I'm going to put one on each side. Like that. And remove the paper and make sure that the tape isn't where I can see it. I'm going to put it not on the zipper teeth, but right next to it. Fold this side over. Now, this is going to get thick, so I would highly recommend like a 9 rivet or something like that. You're going to take this and you're going to fold it over onto itself so that it looks like that. And then we're going to take it and punch a hole right in the center. I'll show you as soon as I get it done, because I know you can't see it from there. So right in the center like that. And then we're going to add our rivet and smush it down, and that is going to be the end of our zipper to hold everything together. Again, you can do just like in the instructions. I just did not have silver. I have everything else but silver, and I've used a lot of hardware in my mind. I've used a lot of hardware, so I want to save in some spots, and that seemed like the most logical place to do it. All right, I personally would tuck this in. That's just me. And you're all done. Alright guys, so what did you think? I know it was a long video, but I have a tendency to kind of like go over every single thing, and I want you guys to see everything, so I know it was long. I'm sorry. If you made it to this point, thank you so much for doing so. I know it was long, but I really, really love this bag. Thank you so much for letting me do this. If you haven't checked her patterns out yet, you really should. She's got a couple on there that I'm like, I need to put that on my list because they're really cool. So go check out her page, go check out her patterns. I think they're really neat. If you like this bag, make sure that you go make it. Also with the testers that I've been doing, I would love to see you guys' makes. Tag me. I'm on Instagram at Faithworks Designs, and I would love to see your bags once they're made. Thanks for joining us again on Faithworks Designs. Bye guys.